second opinion.
Very, I'll come out. You like dogs?
Yeah.
Well, he's young. So he's very, here he is. I'll come out.
You guys just jump right in. I'm gonna stop us at 1:50 so that we have 10 minutes to breathe before you people go.
Okay, Mike, maybe just repeat what you just said about you've got an updated file for males and Claire can send it out and you're still working on, you say.
Right. So this is a continuation of the male Megachile key for the eastern part of North America, and the one we had last week, you can get rid of that one. This one has includes more species, includes all of them up until relative inermis. Those are species that don't have four-coxal spines. All those that do have four-coxal spines are now in the key. So that's most of them. So there's a few more to go yet.
Good job, Mike.
That's fun.
All right. So I didn't get any feedback from anybody, but that's not a surprise to either Mike or myself. And nobody has comments about keys. I still feel like there's like 3 in the world that just like to write keys. And anyway, so I've started putting Mike's questions up into Discover Life guides, and I'll keep people appraised of that. And we've got a fellow who's been in the lab, went off to grad school, came back looking for some part-time work, named Francis Mullen.
Oh.
Is it Mullen? And anyway, Francis will be in, and his task will be to continue that. Are you there? Are you
Keys
online,
like
Francis?
my truck keys and other house key, an old house key, things like that.
Okay. Looks like, is it Robert? Robert Berenger maybe needs to mute. Okay. All right. So we're back. Anyway, that's going to be the latest. So, and then we'll continue into other people's keys and couplets and add them into Discover Life 2 for a more robust set of choices.
Good.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen. We do have to trim a little bit early today because we have a bunch of congressional staffers stopping by to check us out, and we don't want to blow them off at 2. Okay, so what am I doing here? There we go. Click that to be a presenter. Okay, do you see the guide online, Mike's guide?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Now we do.
Okay, that was actually the agaposmin, which I'm working on to update. Now, here we are, couplet 13 in his guide. This would be still available in the last one if you do want to follow on in the one that was sent previously. You haven't gotten a new one, but you will. Oh, she's sending it right now. But it's the same. We're probably not going to get beyond this first section. So what we're tackling is this first major couplet split here. And Mike, do you want to talk about it? And I'll set up all my pruina, as we mentioned before, have been shipped away. But and ingenua is incredibly rare. So we'll talk about that. But I will bring in a frigida while you're talking.
Right. So couplet 13 breaks the remaining species into 2 groups: those that have 4 teeth and those that have 3 teeth. And also those, if you can't see the teeth, which is often the case, but you'll be likely to see the four-coxa, and that's another distinction. The four-coxa either has a patch of large or small hairs, or it has 1 or 2 or 3 very stout bristles that aren't a patch at all, but show up as distinct bristles. So that's a very clear distinction. And if you can't, again, if you can't see the mandibles, you're very likely to be able to see the four-coxae. And that's a pretty obvious difference, either a patch of a bunch of hairs or just a couple bristles. That shows up pretty distinctively.
Mike, you have or underlined with long white hairs only. So are you saying that some don't have CT?
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
Or one?
Yeah, Parallella and,
okay.
And Townsendina don't have patches, but they got a lot of hair.
Okay.
And so do a couple others. Yeah, good point. I didn't see
Okay.
anything. Can't read my own stuff.
And yeah, you might mention the apical fascia or the hairs on the upper side of the tergites, because it's quite different. And these are all reflected in a
Yes.
different way in Discover Life too.
Yeah, that's another thing in these two groups. The first part of the couplet, the group with four teeth on the mandibles, also has reduced apical fascia. And it's not because it's worn, it's because that's just the way it is. It shows up only partially on the lateral parts, and sometimes kind of obscurely so, versus the other group which has three mandible teeth and the bristles. The fascia is totally complete across the whole margins of T2, T3, and T4.
Yep.
At least, and it's very distinct difference.
Yeah, so we'll see some of this, but particularly in that gemula, mucida, melanophaea group, it's just as if they don't have any fascia and they just have light and dark hairs, almost like a bumblebee, but not quite as dense. So again, super different from the kinds of things we see elsewhere in Megachile. All right, I'm going to flip to, okay, so let's back up. So the first couplet here, first two couplets, the pruina, which we've mentioned a couple of times, this is basically a coastal dune species with, in Florida, it moving into, I think, interior dunes. Very unusual to find, but pretty easy to ID. And ingenua, that's one that, is this, this is one that I don't think I've ever collected it. And is this the one this is the one supposed to be a bean/pea Strophostyles specialist, right?
That's what all the records, from this part of the country have all come from. Yeah, some kind of a legume.
And probably sand.
No, the ones in the Ozarks are in dry, rocky
Okay.
grasslands.
Okay, but with the beans and the peas,
Totally,
the wild
yeah.
beans and peas. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So, and that's that's something that I think gets edited out in disturbed habitats a lot. So, but I think would be probably pretty easy to edit back in. Like those beans and peas, once they establish in an area, they really can kind of take over. But I think that, some of our management activities has really reduced the amount of bean and pea. And particularly when you have recovering from, say, agriculture and whatnot. It's something that people, I think, have neglected to think about a whole lot in terms of conservation that we should be adding in. And again, I don't think that's that difficult because once they establish, they seem to keep going.
Well,
any thoughts?
Yeah, the records of ingenua from this part of the country are all in what you and I would call natural habitats that are, see managed fire occasionally, but that are very otherwise undisturbed and have a lot of legumes as well as other things. But I'm not aware of any ingenua specimens that have been found in places that you and I would call disturbed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm just arguing that adding a bean pea mix into some
It's
of
good.
our pollinator patches. I've never heard of anyone doing that, but there's several pea specialists, mucusa and things that I think would benefit, and I don't think it would be that hard.
Well, in the Midwest, legumes are almost always incorporated into
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
But isn't it that's like partridge pea and things like that?
No,
rather
it's
than peas?
amorpha and dahlia and perennial legumes.
Okay. Oh, but not the viney ones.
No, you're right, not the viney ones.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we should move on. So, do you have anything to say? I mean, these are both rare unless you're in the right place at the right time species. But do you want to say anything about their IDs in terms of highlighting something?
They're pretty distinctive, both of them, and very, very unlike each other. So I don't think there'd be much much of a challenge if you find them.
Yeah.
But I think most states consider these, species of concern or should. They're not easy to find at all.
Right. But they, you wouldn't randomly look for them either if you were interested, as people, I think, more and more will get more sophisticated about this. Like if you want pruina, you have to go to super
Right.
deep sand, and you may only be looking on coastal areas, possibly deep interior dune systems in the east. And then ingenua, it's all about peas, certain kind of Strophostyles and what is it, Galactia and stuff like that. And then at the same time, you're going to find other rare bees looking at both those systems, both of those, the pea system and the sand system, would yield things that you're not going to find by just going around, a state and randomly surveying.
Right.
So, and I think from this conservation distribution status point of view, we need more of that. All right, frigida. I've got that under the scope. Let me bring this up.
Oh.
Pretty distinctive thing. I've seen it in the middle of downtown New York City. It's not down here, but it was like, that was right. I think we maybe mentioned this before, in an urban restoration spot there. What's your experience with frigida? Just a northern
thing? Yeah, northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin. I'd never see it down here in the Midwest proper.
Yeah.
This is out at Lamborn. Is this information, species level associations, and particular identifying characteristics available anywhere?
There's not a publication. The Jared has and would have have the Strophostyles stuff in his both published and online web documents on specialist species, but the characters, not like we're talking. I think you dig in the keys and you pull that out. It would be nice, amidst a bunch of other things that probably both Mike and I have on our list, to have more shortcuts for IDing these things. But that's sort of the idea of the Discover Life keys, is to keep adding in more and more information. But there's no real, the last guide to Eastern bees was Mitchell, and the only one in the right at the turn of the 50s and the 60s. And a lot has changed. So it would be nice. I mean, someone should start that. All right, I hope that answered something there. All right, so we're looking at the, I'll back off here, but there's male frigida, and as Mike points out in the key, super numerous bristles, like unbelievable. It's covering a good chunk of that forecoxa or the front coxa, and then a massive spike. And I don't really notice this very much on other species, but I often don't get to see them as well. Do you have anything?
Yeah, there are minute differences on the spines themselves, as far as little tiny hairs, little mini patches, things that are easy to overlook. But a lot of those are seem to be species specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, a lot of times you have a pile of unknowns, and you can use a feature that may not necessarily be in the guide. And that's how both, I'm sure, Mike and myself start parsing, like something's different here, looking for things that differ. Usually my rule is 2. Like I've got a character like this and another character that splits it from another species, and it's consistent, rather than one thing, which could be a sport, right? And then try to, get some names on it. So, particularly if you're working in an area where you're out of your bounds, like in a different country, or for me out west even, is like I start splitting them into morphospecies and I start looking for consistent sets of characters to define the division of two different groups. All right, so I'm on Agapostemon. All right, frigida. So got the gigundo patch of reddish CT. So we didn't really get to see that last time very well, but there you saw it in spades, and many other cases. Hopefully we'll be able to see them. It's really just one CT or a couple. It might be bigger than that, but there's a lot of differences in these cetal patches.
There's another thing about frigida too.
This dark. Yeah, let me pull that up. That's a very cool one. And that's is that distinct to that species?
It is. In terms of the group, in terms of Gemula, Melanophaea, mucida, frigida is the only one that has them.
All right. But they can be tricky to find just because it's on the inside of the tibia, and a lot of times, in a lot of specimens, femur.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's folded in or over, and
you
have to, like I did on this one, you just unfold it, sometimes breaking it. And I think we saw this last time. I think I have to change the lighting, drop the lighting down a little bit. You can kind of see it already, but let me lower the light. I'm not even at full. Where here, and I think this is lower. There we go. So I'll just do it full screen. Ready, please.
So that's the interior face of the front femur that you're looking at with there are two more or less dark brown stripes that begin at the trochanter and then kind of go.
All right, I'm trying to do full screen.
No, I think that shows up okay, Sam.
Yeah, it shows up okay. For some reason, it's some weird combination of maybe Control Alt F. Nope. Am I in there? Control Alt Shift F. There we go. I have to press 4 characters. So it's a little bit of shine here. So let me see if I can change maybe some of this reflectance pattern. But those big stripes is what we're looking for. There we go. That's a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So here and here, really distinct, but again, usually the tibia is folded right over that. And it's on the inside, not the outside. So the outside is often the part that's visible. So, but, that's what a pair of tweezers are for, is to open that up. And if you break it off, you just put it on the label. And, I think when you're dealing with large collections of, specimens, it's not too bad to do that when you have to get in and look at these coxal things, as long as you keep the segment somewhere else. It's for science, it's for identification purposes, and sometimes you really do need to get into these spots.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes it just hangs on, you bend it, but I'd say 80% of the cases, it's still fine. But every once in a while, like this one, it just breaks off. This is a huge piece. Okay, so the wonderful frigida. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the remaining 3 species, Gemula, Melanophaea, and mucida, they have some patches of bristles on the forecoxa, but they're much more reduced and not so conspicuous as in frigida. And then the front face, interface of the 4 femur is all just yellow or yellowish orange. So they stand out from frigida.
And I often, can spot them. We'll take a look at this. Let me just flip over here. I often spot them because of the abdomen hair patterns, which we'll take a look. After a while, you get used to getting the vibe on these. Okay, always, maybe it's the other side. Is this a female? Thought I thought it was mucida. This was melanophaea. I just wanted to show, I had a good one showing the patch very easily. I'm going to try and start with that one that Mike was talking about to contrast it with the patch of CT on the forecoxa with the other one. And you can see it in here. And this is actually in some ways illuminating because here's the rest of the, so if we look at this a little bit closer perhaps, you can see a big chunk of, so the spine is coming up, it's not as tall. Here's that patch that I noted on the other one, but you can see the spine is not this long and slender. This patch is, if this is the remaining, I'll try and get a better view, the remaining part of the forecox, there's a lot of CT here, but it's not consuming as much space as the other one. Let me zoom in. Well, let me just. This is right now is melanophaea, just because it had. I knew that this patch was visible. So, Mike, do you want to talk about the patterns on the front leg, tibia and basetarsal segments between, what is it, melanophaea and mucida and gemula as a split?
Yeah, at a glance, those three species look alike if you're just kind of passing over them. But gemula, the four tarsi are more of a dark brownish with a little bit of pale yellow, but they're not bright yellow like what you're seeing here. So yep. Gemula is at least very common in a lot of parts of the Midwest. It's not so northern as melanophaea. But anyway, gemula has a more reduced color to the four basotarsi, and the size of the tarsi are reduced as well. So that's a very, very distinct distinction between gemula and the rest of them.
And well, I've got gemula specimens to show too.
Okay, good.
We're looking at this one here. So here is this big white glob of a of the basotarsi and other segments. Oh, I wonder if it has a black dot on the other side. But additionally, let's flip to the back side so you can get a look at this sort of more of a like Amphophora and bumblebee-like hair pattern than a Megachile, the other kinds of Megachile. So these hair patterns are a little bit different on each in terms of their extent and whatnot. But basically, you have this like where's the fascia? Maybe there's some over here, but basically they present as long-haired. Again, that's unusual with T1 and T2 often having a lot of light hairs and then the remaining a lot of dark hairs. And I don't know, do you mention that in your slide?
I don't think so. And the reason I didn't is with melanophaea, historically there have been a number of subspecies described based on hair patterns. Oh. And so I have melanophaea that don't look like melanophaea. And so, really? Yeah, from Western Canada and northern North Dakota, they don't all look the same. And I think Mitchell had, I want to say, maybe 3 different subspecies based on hair patterns. So it's a variable species in terms of the abdominal hair patterns. Okay. Now, maybe not in any given site, but I'm saying, throughout Eastern North America, melanophaea doesn't always look exactly the same.
And they go very far north too.
Yeah, way up there. Yeah.
It also makes you suspicious that maybe the Western I would think Corey would have looked at their little molecules to look for differences, but
yeah, I forget how those guys handled that species. I can't remember now, but that's a good point.
Yep. So we also saw that these forecoxal spines triangular and So short, I would presume. I don't look at the forecoxal spines very much. In Discover Life, we spend a fair amount of time looking at, but I can't recall what it is right now, and I don't know that we necessarily have to go there, but looking at the patterns of T6 and T7 on these specimens, and they have different architectures.
Right.
In terms of, they've got quite a bit of T7 often has a spike-like aspect to it. I'm not sure we're going to see it very well in this specimen. And then there often are some really large, so this I believe is the flange on T6. So we need to flip this over a little bit more. There's often really, really large teeth on, and again, I can't remember the species involved, on the true rim of T6. It's illuminated in Discover Life guides.
Yeah,
But-
melanophaea has 2 projections from T6.
Yeah, so again, like some of these things, it's a good, consistent character, but often difficult to see, as you can see here when we're trying to separate out hair. And I believe this might be T7 here, and this is the true rim through there, and this is the projection. So, but none of that is very clear with this one. So, Mike's Key has a good set of characters that don't require you to peer at that very much. But as I'm trying to put the labels back on here, as something that might be useful for identification, that's another aspect that you might have. And a lot of times you want options, particularly when you're dealing with specimens that you have collected, but are not collecting in, let's call it, a very museum-y way. You know, you process them, you wash them, you pin them, and they're in a variety of poses, which may or may not reveal some of these characters. Museum people, and I'm going to say Mike, were on that edge. You know, they actually prepare their specimens really well. And so a lot of these characters are super visible because they spread things and whatnot. All right, let's switch now. I'll bring up a mucida, which would be the other large 4 basetarsal and tarsal segments that are yellow specimen, and then we'll try to discriminate it. So that's going to match melanophaea.
And mucida is really scarce in the Midwest. We hardly ever see it. It's here, but only a handful of specimens that I know of.
Yeah, we see it. I don't have many specimens here, but it's I could look it up, but it's pretty regular. So I'm like Patuxent here. Patuxent, we have both. And I think of it as in the drier end of the spectrum. So let's go to your key. I'm not sure how you're splitting them here. So here, the two large yellow expanded front leg ones, and here we get into true apical margin. So with a pair of, so the true rim of T6 in the middle with a pair of blunt projections, these twice as long as broad. Forecoxal spines are triangular, so we're looking at them again. That's the melanophaea we just were looking at. And then on mucida, you have the T6 without any projections, and the forecoxal spines narrow, not triangular. So let me go try to find the forecoxal spines. These have massive expanded sections, so it may be tricky to see in there, but let's see what we can do. This is what you're doing. You're peering around with the microscope at different angles to see if you can see inside some of these areas. And so here's the legs. Here is, and these mandibles are that shape. You can see, for example, in often the teeth much better, and this sort of bulbous, swollen look is also something I like. Consider. And this is the labrum sticking out below it. Remember, Megachile have these strap-like ones, and then in there is theoretically what we're looking for, and if we can see it really well, it's probably in those hairs. So I'm not sure. Let's see if we can see at the other end on the by turning it over and looking at the underside, see if we can see the true rim of T6, and we'll look for what's essentially the absence of triangular things. So recall, I don't know if we've looked at them yet, but we will spend more and more time on the little triangles that line the rim. I think we talked about this in a generic way. Maybe we looked at brevis or something, but it's really useful character sometime to look for the small spurs. And it's a pain, and it takes a while to sort of get the idea of where they are and how to find them in there. All right, so we're looking at the underside, S1 there, and a lot of complexity back here. And okay, bump up the lighting and see if we can do that. Yeah, so we'll go to back to 200. That's better. And cut that back down. I'm not sure you can see what's going on here. Everything's dark. So I'm going to try a little bit here, but it's such a tough character to illustrate for folks. Might be a little bit better, particularly
Yeah, you're getting
in
there.
dark spots. Okay. Yeah, actually. So here is T5, T6. This is the projecting plate, flange, if you will. It has a gigantic cut out of it, and the true rim is down through here. Let me zoom in a little bit. And what was it? Mucida has what in terms of it? So here's the projection rim and then the true rim here, which looks like it has teeth on it. Is it supposed to have teeth?
Melanophaea does.
Okay. Maybe I have, what do I have? Theoretically, I have mucida here. Or maybe I'm not looking in the right place. Let's go back here. We're at pretty high magnification. Oh, maybe so I think, is this the projecting rim and that's T7?
I think so.
Okay, so the teeth that we're really seeing are just part of the flange, the projecting flange, not the true rim. The true rim is hidden, I think, in this picture. So this, I'm going to say, is probably T7.
Makes sense.
Which has in this group seems to bump out and has some slightly different shapes to it. And I think in Discover Life we use that as part of the identification stream. Oh, wait a minute. So here, this looks like the projecting plate. We have a wrong specimen in here. So yeah, this has to be the flange, right, Mike?
I think so.
Yeah, and then this must be the next rim below it, which looks like it has teeth on either side of it. We'll take a look here in a second. Let's just jump to Discover Life and see what they say too. But So without projections, and we didn't see the others medially, but I don't know. I mean, that's at the very edge of this cleft here. So hang on a sec. I'm just going to open up. I think there was some pictures here. Megachile males. A little wake up. A little bit slow internet going on here. And then I don't want to, oh, I have the tag off. Where is this from? Maryland. So we don't have any melanophaea records. And it's Worcester County, which is our far eastern shore, southern one. So it would make most sense that it would be mucida. All right, so, okay. We want to go to the menu as, and we want to go to the characters with mucida in it. Melanophaea versus mucida. Oh, well, that should be it. Okay. So here are the really points that Mike is talking about in mucida. Let's see if I can get that to show up a little bit bigger, like that. And then here is the, so this is melanophaea, sorry, did I say mucida? And this is mucida, and I think that's what we were seeing, and it's just lower, are more triangular and not this horn-like. So does that make sense to you, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, just differences in describing those things. So there are, we're seeing here the same thing we're seeing here. Okay, so here's this huge cutout on the true rim this time. And then just to reorient, because this is always confusing, here is the flange for, so this is the rim of T5. Here's the start of the body, the basal area of T6. Here's the flange right there with a big cutout, as usual for most of these things. And now we can see a much more prominent than in lots of other species groups, rim of T6 that has this humongous cutout. And these, I think, are just being emphasized a little more in this picture than you would if you move this around. So these aren't what you would see in melanophaea, which are these horn-like things projecting out, but more like dull triangles, because of course at the edge, the turn here from the cleft to the rest of the body is going to create a triangle. So this is the same. So I think, all right, I'm convinced that we're looking at mucida. And
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah. So, but you can see how this is like the problem with identifications. Like you have to always be second guessing yourself. Like, oh my God, is that really what is that really a triangle or not? Or anyway, so there we go. What else do we say here? Submedial prominent, submedial teeth with prominent, while prominent are triangular with sharp points and clearly not parallel-sided and horn-like, like that. Apical end of front tibia with a small and short but clearly visible pointed spine that emerges from one side of the outer edge. We can try and find that. And this one says apical end of the front tibia with a prominent, strongly projecting wide, very thin plate that emerges from one side of the outer edge and curves back on itself. Looks a bit like the bent tip of a table knife. All right, let's find that. I don't know that I look at that very often. So, apical end of front tibia, small and short but clearly visible, pointed spine at the outer edge. Are you familiar with this one, Mike?
You know, it's not ringing a bell.
Well, it's actually not ringing a bell for me either, because I think my ID string ends with looking at the rear end.
Yeah.
Or at So here is, I think, the plate in question. That should be the tibia, apical end. And let's see if I can get this in focus. And we might actually be able to see something here. So I wonder if it's that. Let's see what we say here again. Apical end of front tibia with a small and short but clearly visible pointed spine that emerges from one side of the outer edge. That would be the outer edge. So I'm guessing it's that. And it's small and pointed. I don't know if I got this from Corey or someone else. Although I'm not sure he covered mucida. And oops. And then the alternative, which we'll go take a quick look back on melanophaea. See if we can see that a little bit better. Yeah, I think it's that right there. Short, small spine. Let's see if we can find a counterpart that is more bent tip of a table knife-like. And then the timekeeper is saying, congressional people coming, warning. All right,
Maybe
all right,
we ought to
so, and wouldn't they be interested in this topic? All right, so I've got melanophaea back in the blocks. It's really amazing how much there is talked about, even just at the identification level for these things. All right.
Well, this would be a good stopping point, you know.
Yeah. Yep. We didn't really talk about gemula. Maybe if Claire will let me, I'll just toss it on as okay, interesting. This is it right there. You can see it does look more plate-like and bent over. So something to look at. I'd be interested if you take a look at that, Mike, of what you're seeing. Or is that what we were seeing? You know, we might have been seeing this, but we should have turned it a little bit more to see that. But let me turn the light down and make sure that we are seeing another 5 minutes. Okay. All right, got it. Claire is granting a reprieve. Down to there, maybe. Huh. So it looks like this is the feature. I'm going to go back to the other one and rotate it because I think we might have seen that, which is it does look like another spine-like thing. Are you familiar? This is just a spur, really. You know what we would normally call one of the tibial spurs, right, Mike?
I think.
Yeah. But quite different. Okay, so let's jump back to mucida again and shift that picture. I'll make sure I don't lose my tags on these things. And mucida. Hang on. And I'm going to tip it over more. Get a different look. I have an alert on my screen that congressional people are coming. Right. All right, where I might have turned it too far. Well, so here's, yeah, I think I need to go back and spin it a little bit more. Make it visible. Okay. All right, so we had a slightly different view on this mucida before. Oops. Going to negotiate this a little bit. Yeah, so here's, I don't even know what to call these things. This is some stub, perhaps, that were in both, right? And then this is the little triangular thing, quite different from the other. It'd be fun to see if you see similar things when you go through your specimens on that.
Okay, I'll look.
Okay. All right, so we'll just toss Gemula in here to show you that it does not have the big brown or the big yellow parcel segments. Careful. I have Gemula here. I think so. But it does sometimes have, like at the base, I think, of the parcel segments, sometimes some yellowish areas.
Yep.
That's, you know, a little bit. So it's not, it's very different in when you have direct comparison. Well, let me get the label off. Very different in direct comparison, but it's not, there is a little bit of yellow often in there. I always have to qualify everything. All right, so yeah, so super different, unless that's the only specimen you have. And then you have to like, oh, well, maybe. And you can see this width is approximately the width of the tibia. Oh, we'll have to check out what kind of spur it has. And there's some yellowish aspects here you can see on the opposite side. Yellowish aspects, particularly as you progress away from the base of tarsal segment. But just have to make that clear. When we're talking now, we'll investigate the mysterious outer tibial spur situation, and I think I've got a pin a little bit in the way. Oops. Do I have the median? Okay. Yeah, you're right. I did before. Thank you, Claire. All right, so there we have the, well, remember that we're seemingly two. I only see one here. And, but it's pretty big and just pointy. So sort of like the melanophaea situation. Now I'm going to spin it. I'm having a hard time imagining that it will be any less than 5 years to get through all the Eastern North American species at our rate, but that's okay. And look up. Yeah, we got time. What the hell? And it's good because I at least am learning a lot at the same time. So maybe some youthful taxonomist will find these videos in the future and say, those guys were just totally messed up. But I'm now going to do all the correct revisions. Okay, I'm going to lighten this up. See what's going on in there. Okay, here we are, basotarsus to the right, and we were looking more straight down before, so here was what we were looking at, which may or may not have been, if there are two, like in the others, there was pretty clearly a short stubby thing, like maybe that, and maybe this down here is possibly the other spur. I'm going to rotate it one more time and then we'll really be done, Claire. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't think it's actually clear either. Okay, so bringing it down. Here is the go into there and find the missing spur. Super exciting. Okay. This, I think we're looking straight down on that, the small spur that we saw in all the 3 positions now. And there's possibly something in there. And I think we're running out of time to really differentiate. And we can both look at specimens to try and figure out this spur thing. It's possible that it's that, but if it is, it's pretty small and very short compared to the other 2. All right. Are there questions? Have we stimulated people to create large collections so that they could look at the spurs that jingle jangle jingle on their Megachile males? Mostly.
No, mostly practicing.
Yeah. All right. I'll mention just briefly that Claire and I have a new annex building. It's going to be, I don't know, it's almost twice the size of this building. It's an old chick raising building, but it's going to be set up to have collections in it. And one of the things that we're thinking about, we're not ready, would be to take specimens that people are finished with, you know, from a grad school project or whatever, and have them there so that we can put some into accession as specimens that would be vouchers, if you will, for certain areas, and then redistribute, you know, swap and send things around to other folks who are just starting out and need to build up their collections without necessarily spending years collecting that. If you understand that. So anyway, keep that thought, and we'll see. Theoretically, the building's ready in October. I don't really believe that, but it might be. I'll get the congressional people to come out and help build it.
Okay.
Yeah, unlikely. All right, do we have any questions? Okay. Mike, do you have any last things you're gonna try and wrap up the Meg mail thing?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll be here next Wednesday or not. Just
Okay.
Not quite really know yet.
Got it. All right. Always
Okay.
appreciative. You're now part of the standard set of people. You're no longer a guest.
Okay. Good luck with the Congress people.
Okay, but Mike, so
Yes.
Claire, who's not on speaker, she wants to know if she gets questions, whether she can give people your email.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Very good. All right. Good luck,
Okay.
everybody.
All right.
And
See you, Sam.
we're gonna